So, yeah, when Kenneth brought me that song, I thought, oh, that's a good song for something. That works well, especially when you hear the whole thing in a slower tempo. So this week's talk is called The Wheat and the Tares. And it's based on the parable of, well, the wheat and the tares from Matthew 13. And it's about I'll read it. I'll read the Bible passage. You're welcome. Now, you guys have probably already read this recently. Oh, I make myself laugh. Another parable, it's verse 24, starts with, another parable he put before them, saying, the kingdom of heaven. Remember, most of these parables, he starts with, the kingdom of heaven is like this, to enter the kingdom of heaven. These parables are about getting into the kingdom of heaven, which means getting into right thinking. That's what entering the kingdom of heaven is to get into right thinking. I like to reiterate that over and over and over again. I don't know if you need to know about that, but I do. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat, and then went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. And the servants of the householder came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then has it weeds? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather them? But he said, No, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first, and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. So, I think hopefully we can gather that seed is thoughts. You know, he planted good seed, planted true thoughts. He did his metaphysical work, and he planted within himself. Affirmative thoughts, positive thoughts, correct thinking. He did that. And then when he went to sleep, when he went to the disco, when he went to the mall, when he went to a party, when he went somewhere, the enemy came in and planted weeds, or tares as they were called then. Planted, those other thoughts. He had a few drinks. He went out and charged a lot of stuff. He got into a good gossip session. Those are the weeds. Senses took over. And I don't know about you, but when my senses are heightened, they become way more important than my good wheat. They become way more important than the good seeds. Anybody identify? You understand where the cravings start. One cookie is never enough. Who made the cookies, by the way, in the kitchen? They're delicious. And one was not enough. I didn't need just a taste of a cookie. I always admired those people. What is it? It was Kathy Lee. It was her 50th birthday. And there was this beautiful cake. And she took her fork and she faced it straight down, sucked it in, pulled it out. Delicious. And set that fork down. And I thought, are you insane? Are you insane? How could you do that? Because you're not addicted to sugar. Sugar doesn't make you forget God. Now, there are other things that makes her forget, but that's none of my business. We're talking about sugar right now. But we're talking about the things that our senses, when the flesh gets excited, that's what it wants. More than it wants the truth, more than it wants to know the spirit of its being, until we remember again. However, the point of this story, it says, because too many of us in our spiritual life want to get rid of the weeds. Let me get rid of what we call bad. Let me get rid of the sensations. Let me get rid of the ego. Love that. I hate the ego. The ego's making me do this. And it's like, oh, stop, put that blue book down. You don't understand it yet. Don't read A Course in Miracles by yourself. You will not understand it. A Course in Miracles is great stuff, but only when correctly understood. And the ego, I cannot think of the ego as hating me. The ego just no longer knows how to serve me. So I must guide it in how to serve me. If we're going to hold to what I believe is the truth, that as God is for me, nothing could ever be against me, then how could the ego be against me? How could cookies be against me? How could the weeds be against me? They can't. Everything wants to serve us. Everything and everyone wants to serve us. Are we clear on this? Everything and everyone wants to serve us. That is the goal. Just as we really do want to serve our community. We want to serve because we know that. However, the misguidance in service is where the confusion comes in. You see, if my goal is to drop weight, well, then cookies can no longer serve me. But that doesn't mean I have to hate cookies. Did you ever dream you'd go to church and hear a talk about cookies and service at the same time? Did you ever dream? So, to look at it, for me to hate sugar, for me to hate cigarettes, for me to hate alcohol, for me to hate people, I am confused about all of that then, because I have gone from, oh, God and I are one, we are unity, to there's God and me and sugar and alcohol and cigarettes and people and attitudes and behaviors, and there's money and there's my body and there's health and there's all this, something there's and then we sing, we are one, we are unity. Something's not adding up. And that's what happens when I go to the disco. That's what happens when I go to the mall. I start to confuse all the teachings and all the practices. And rather than love expanding in my consciousness, confusion expands in my consciousness. And then confusion turns into hatred in my consciousness, and I begin to think that I am bad, and I begin to think that you are bad, and I can spout off words that God is good, but I don't mean it because I don't have a clue what that means, because I'm busy thinking, letting the flesh rule. Now, I'm not here to hate my flesh. It's my automobile. Although some of us treat our automobiles better than we treat our flesh. But to love this, to love each other, doesn't mean I like everybody. It has nothing to do with that, because we're not talking about personalities here. We're talking about beings. To love beings first. To love each other just because we are a being who is not separate from us. And to interrupt conversations that imply that we are separate. Wouldn't that be great? What a relief that could be if you and I started interrupting conversations we have that imply that another being is somehow separate because of how we perceive them behaving, how we perceive them thinking. We think we're in competition. We think they've stolen from us. We think. And we don't hand our thoughts over to God. We don't hand our thoughts over to Spirit. We instead say, Spirit, this is what I'm thinking. Please tell me how I'm right. God, tell me how these wrong thoughts are right. Please, can we find a way to make my confusion work for me? Can we find a way to make my misery more manageable? Anybody? Has anybody sought to make their misery more manageable? Every hand in this room should be up. You are such liars. Or you don't understand what I'm saying. We think I hate my misery. I just hate my misery. And then we get on the phone and we talk about somebody. And we character, assassinate them. And what we've just done is add to our misery. What we're affirming is we have enemies. What is an enemy really? But that which we use to confuse us. It's not happening from the outside. It's happening from within. What we use to confuse us, because it's my thoughts about what people do that disturb me. It's not they who have disturbed the peace, it is I who have disturbed the peace. Because it's my peace, and I'm deciding. I'm deciding what it means. I'm deciding. And it doesn't always feel that way. Listen to this. From the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament. Same chapter, Matthew 13:24. The choice you make will seem to be made many times in complete sincerity and truth of heart. And then you will seem to slip and forget the choice you have made. Has anybody ever decided to diet tomorrow? No. And then tomorrow gets here. I'm going to quit smoking tomorrow. I'm going to be kinder tomorrow. Those are choices. Those are choices you're making right now for tomorrow. So, we understand here. The choice you make will seem to be made many times in complete sincerity and truth of heart. And then you will seem to slip and forget the choice you have made. Who's going to the gym tomorrow? Yeah. Then you will seem to slip and forget the choice you have made. Here's the love of Spirit. Do not let this distress you. Simply make the choice again. In any moment, when you notice that evil thoughts and thoughts of separateness have crept into your mind, give them up in that moment. Now, let me tell you what an evil thought is. I'm stupid, I'm bad, I'm poor, I'm ugly, I'm sick. You're stupid, you're bad, you're ugly, you're sick. Those are evil thoughts. Those are just, I can't, is an evil thought. An evil thought, what is evil except untrue? It's evil in that it confuses us, but we choose to let it confuse us. So, it is moment to moment in which the harvest occurs. And so it is in the moment that you remember that you must also make the choice. So the point the farmer was making in the Bible passage was, no, don't tear up the weeds yet. Let everything grow. Because we don't want to get rid of what's working. We don't want to get rid of the good seed, the good wheat, because we're mad at the weeds. We're trying to I've got to get rid of this bad. I've got to get rid of this. No. We let it all come to harvest so that then we can separate the two easily, or at least simply. And we separate it, and in the Bible it says, and then bind the weeds together and burn them. Meaning, once you can discern the difference between the wheat and the weeds, then you'll know the wheat, I can keep this, as it says, bring it to my house. Take what's good about you, what's right about you, what you know to be true about you, and bring that into the chapel, into the barn that is yours, into God, into your life and the living of your life. Bring it into your body, bring it into your mind, so that you are now living in what you know to be the good seed. Now, I guarantee we'll go back to the disco and we will forget again, but every time we remember is such a wonderful deal. It is such a lovely thing. Every time we remember, God is my source. God is my power. God is my presence. Or you can put it another way. Life is my source. Love is my power. Love is who I am, what I am. What are the facts of my life? That love is. Not everybody's nice, not everybody's kind. That doesn't mean that love is not the source of my being. And the more I remember that, now here's the funny part, as you I'm sure many of you have noticed, you have chosen for love and everything unlike it appears. I have chosen for prosperity, and more bills came that you didn't even know you have. You choose for harmony, and somebody calls you up and yells at you. You choose, you're choosing for peace today, and you get stopped for a ticket. Whatever it is, patience is mine, and you're in every line in town. And getting to practice patience. And so, whatever, I choose joy today, and then things that seem to conflict with joy in your mind seem to come up. But stick with what you know to be true, and that will pass. The weeds will pass at harvest, and you can take those weeds out and say, I know this is what it has to be true. I know this is what has to be true. And that has saved me for a lot of years now, is at my most upset, the truth still has to be true. That which is true still has to be true. We read the newspapers, and the truth still has to be true. We hear the news on television, people are doing things to each other, and the truth still has to be true. I overeat, I over whatever. The truth still has to be true. Do we get it? This is the decision, this is the choice in our thinking, to place our faith in that the truth has to be true. And so I look at, well, what is truth? Well, love is truth. But what does that mean? I don't know, but I know it's true. And I simplify sometimes that much. I don't know what love is, but I know it's the only reality, and it must be good. Does that make sense? Peace is the reality. What is peace? I don't know for sure, but I know it must be good. Joy. I don't know exactly what joy is, but I know it must be good. What I also know is that love and peace and joy and presence and omnipresence, all of this is not based on the satisfaction of my body. It is not based on the satisfaction of my flesh. In fact, for quite some time, it's likely to be based on the dissatisfaction of your flesh. As you choose for love, as you choose for life, as you choose for wisdom and peace and joy, it is likely that your body, or possibly your bank account, or your relationships, or just your mind, will go through a terrific chemicalization as the old thoughts have to come up and be released. Did anybody ever quit smoking?
Yeah.
Was it comfortable?
No.
Nope.
Exactly. Are you still glad you did it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Me too. Oh, it was a bear. It was a bear. I smoked 3.5 packs of cigarettes a day. I smoked while I was awake. I liked smoking. I still miss it in many ways, and I'm so grateful I don't do it anymore. I'm so grateful that I don't have a smoke screen between me and God, of my understanding. I don't have that screen in my prayer life. I have a sugar screen right now, but every time I have, I'll say I go on a diet, but what it really is when I've gone to shift the way I use food. When I have shifted that, all sorts of old thoughts come up, all sorts of discomfort. It's got to come up. And if I am willing to tolerate that, then I can go all the way through. But I also know if I were to have a puff of a cigarette today, I'm likely to be back very quickly. Except it costs a lot more now than it did when I smoked. And so suddenly I'm going to DA for my cigarette habit. And I don't care to do that. Charging cigarettes, I don't want to go into all that. But there's no cause to hate myself if I did. Are we clear on this? There's no cause to hate myself over cookies, cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, sex, what have you. There's no cause to hate myself ever. There's every cause to love God. there is every cause to love God. Hiding from God will not do any good. The allegory of Adam and Eve, when, once they're aware they're in the flesh and everything, and they're trying to hide from God. They're the only two people on earth, and they are trying to hide from God as if they will get lost in the crowd. The crowd of what? But in our minds, we try to hide. Try to hide. I don't know if we're trying to hide from God or ourselves. But we're trying to hide. And here's how we hide. We hide under hateful thoughts. We hide under shame. We hide under, competitive thinking. We hide in sickness. We hide in disharmony. We hide as if we're actually hidden. We fool ourselves. And if we would come to terms with, there's no place to hide. There's no place for a part of me to hide. I am always seen by truth. I am always seen by love. I am always seen by wisdom. And these aspects of being are never mad at us. They are never pointing a finger saying you should be ashamed. They are never doing that. What they are doing is they are here. They see us in all our foibles and all our doubts and all our joys and all our playtimes. They see us, these aspects of being, and they say, I'm here when you want me. I'm not hiding from you. I am right here. I am right here. I am the wheat. I am love. I am joy. I am wisdom. I am peace. I am presence. I am power. And I'm right here. And as soon as you want me, we'll play. But it's kind of all or nothing. You gotta give me your all, and I'll give you all of me. But I'm not hiding. I am right here. Put your faith in me, that it will only be your body and an aspect of your mind that will be uncomfortable for a little while in your surrender to the good that is. I promise you will not struggle forever, because in the kingdom, love is. Out of the kingdom consciousness, love is conditional. Joy is conditional. Peace is conditional. But in the kingdom, and that's where we want to enter into, love is, peace is, joy is, presence is. It just is. In faith of the kingdom, choose me now. Choose for yourself now. Choose for all beings now. Choose the wheat now. Do not hate the weeds. Choose the wheat now. Do not hate the weeds. Stand upon your rock of faith and say, yes, I accept you into my conscious mind now. Love, love. Love peace. Love joy. Love wisdom. Love presence. Love is. And because love is, I am. Because love is, I am. Could we say that together? Because love is, I am. Let's say it again. Because love is, I am. One more time. Because love is, I am. So it is.